Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. What witchy reads are on my list? Stay tuned to find out. Hey guys, if you're new here, welcome to The Book Path. I'm Nicole, and if this isn't your first rodeo, thanks for sticking around. As you can tell, this video is all about witchy reads, and it was inspired by a wonderful birthday gift that my husband gave to me. And if you can remember, you know that I already did one of his presents in August, and that was for my Haunted Mansion video. I will go ahead and link that down below. And that he got me, and for that video, he got me the Haunted Mansion Lego set. It was a little mini one, and I made it all over there. This time, things are a little bit different. I did not do the video of me making it because, let's just say, this thing was big. It was a big build, and it took forever to make, so I just didn't do the video. I will go ahead and show you how it came out afterwards, but the hubby got me the Hocus Pocus Lego collection, and if you can see, it's got the characters, it's got Binks the cat, it's got their house, and if you flip it over, it has all these wonderful little scenes from inside the house. It does open up. I went ahead and built it. I will roll footage now of the finished project. So as you can see, it came out wonderful. I really love it. Unfortunately, I couldn't fit the whole thing behind me, so I just have the house along with Winifred, her sisters, and of course Binks the cat, because I'm not gonna lie, Binks was my favorite. Because I'm a huge Hocus Pocus fan, I thought it would be great to do some of my favorite witchy reads, or what I have read that features a witch as the main character or the main love interest in a book. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm not going to give too much of in-depth analysis onto each of these, because there are 10 regular books and then a few kind of honorable mentions that I haven't yet read, but they're on my list. And I'm not going to lie, this is getting kind of annoying. I think I'm going to just fix it a little bit that way. We can have it dangling in the background. I just feel like I'm kind of wearing more of like a festive sombrero when they're like in my face like that. So let's go ahead and get started. First up is Magic by Moonlight by Maggie Shane. This is probably my oldest read on there. This came out a long time ago. I remember reading it in high school on a plane, and it was called Musketeer by Moonlight or something was the original name, I think. But basically what you have is you have Mary Catherine, who is a detective, and she's also a witch. And she's got some heat on her from a recent case that she did, where there is like a mafia or a gangster mob or whatever that's after her because she's trying to put them away. And her aunt suggests that maybe she needs to conjure a protector or do some protection. And she doesn't really want to do witchy stuff because it always goes haywire. She does end up doing a conjuration or a summoning or something, and she ends up summoning a French musketeer. And he's chivalrous, and it's out of place in time, and there's just a lot of fun things that go on, and of course romance ensues. It's a very short read, but I love it, and I really, really love the end scene. I ended up picking this up again and rereading it last October, I believe it was, and it still was wonderful for me. Absolutely love the love scene in this. It's wonderful. Have I said wonderful enough? But yes, great read. And there we go. Next up, of course, is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. This was kind of a cutesy, more cozier, witchy read. You have a town that feels very, it's in like a New England town, and there is witchy powers kind of running through the town on like a ley line, and it's kind of protecting the town in a way. You have a family of, and I think there's two sisters that are left, and one of the sisters falls for this like a warlock basically, and ends up brokenhearted. Her and her sister decide to cast a spell. They're joking around about it, but in a weird way, they do cast a spell. It causes him to have bad luck. Like 10 years or whatever, years later in the future, he is back in town for kind of like a centennial or something, and he's there to charge the ley lines, and chaos starts ensuing, or chaos starts happening because he's back in town because of the hex that she placed on him. And so the two have to team up to try to break his hex while trying to uncover what is really going on in the town. So it's really cute, really spooky. Enjoyed it. Not really scary, so it's just a fun, spooky themed kind of witchy romance. Next, of course, is The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. This is a world where witches exist and they have powers over the seasons, and they're there to help humanity because humanity has done what we are doing now, which is kind of just messing up the environment. So the witches are there to try to correct that. And there is the main character, Clara. Clara is actually unique because she has power over all of the seasons, but it's kind of, she doesn't know how to wield it well, so she's trying to learn, and she ends up having a little bit of a romance with kind of an exchange student who's there to kind of be a tutor to her. And chaos is kind of coming to a point seasonally and weather-wise around them, and she knows she has to help out, so she needs to kind of step up, and she's afraid to do so because of secrets or events that have happened in her past. It was very beautifully written. I enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as other people did, but it still was a really good book, and I do recommend it. Okay, next is going to be one of my more favorite duologies, and that is the All of Us Villains duology and All of Our Demise. This is written by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. I really enjoyed this series. You basically have a town, I want to say near the UK, where there's these prominent families of witches and warlocks, and they are not nice families. Like, they are all villains. And what happens is every generation they have like a battle basically between one representative from each family to go into this almost dome-like creation, and towers and castles and things start like spurting up magically, and there are relics and spells and enchantments, and the whole thing is that one family must come out victorious by killing the rest of them to break the spell for that time. That family will get all the magic or the rarer magic in the world and have control of it for the next generation. So you have that, and what happens when the representatives that are chosen don't want to die and they need to find a different alternative on how to survive. So none of these characters are like a hero. They all have like just really shadowy, shades of gray type of past, but you find yourself rooting for them anyway. And I really did love the characters in this so much. So this duology, highly recommend. Next up on our list is Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. This is the prequel to the Practical Magic book that the movie is based off of. And what you basically have in here is the story of the Owens bloodline, which is the two sisters. I think it's Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman in the movie. This is their ancestors and how the spell gets placed on their family, that basically whoever should fall in love with one of the Owens women is doomed to like die horribly, and they hear the death beetle, and there's all this stuff. So this is basically the story of how that happens, and you go through, I want to say the late 1500s to 1600s, from the UK down to the Caribbean and up to the Salem area, right around the time of the witch trials. So you're getting to see three different areas, how they're reacting to witchery at those times. So there is a heavy based part of historical fiction in there. I loved the scenery. I loved that she's taking the kind of folklore remedies and the magical remedies of each of the UK, the Caribbean, and the New England area, and giving you a background in each of them, and you're exploring each of them with the characters. I love that there's some mention of, I think it was Captain Kidd, and just some of the parts of the historical fiction that she puts in there. I found myself having to go and research and to be like, was this really true? So very big kudos on that. Very beautifully written. And just a really good prequel. I'm curious to go and pick up Practical Magic now to finish this out and read the series. So well done. Next up, we have Song of the Crimson Flower. This is kind of an Asian folklore story. Very well done. You have a young boy who is not really well-to-do, and he falls for kind of like a lord's daughter, and she rejects him even though they're very good friends, and he's so heartbroken. He ends up going to see a witch in this kind of like swampy area, and she basically traps his soul inside of like a type of wooden flute. And the girl goes and she's heartbroken because she is going to be betrothed. I think she's being betrothed to somebody else. And you have the girl who she feels bad about what's happened. She hasn't seen her friend in days. And she sees his boat and she sees his flute and she doesn't know what happened. She's frantic. She goes to play the flute for whatever reason. And the flute summons his spirit and she's able to see him, and he tells her what happened. And so she decides to embark with him on a journey to basically break the spell and get him back so he's no longer trapped in the flute. And it leads them on this grand adventure with other witches and one of them might actually have witchy powers themselves. You have to read it. It is a part of this world where there are two other books in the series. Not in this series, this can be read as a standalone, but it was a very beautiful world that was created. Almost towards the end gave me very Wizard of Oz, Elphaba in her castle kind of vibes. So very interesting, very well done. Loved this one. And no witchy reads list would be complete without the first witch, according to the Greeks, Cersei. This is also an extremely beautifully written story. You have the myth of Cersei, who is basically the daughter of the Titans, I believe, and just her heartbroken story of rejection, and she basically becomes the first witch. Really, she has magical powers. She goes and she lives. She casts herself out onto an island after a lot of stuff goes awry, and it's just about her involvement as she's seen through like Daedalus and like the Battle of Troy, Odysseus, and all these famous Greek heroes, and the roles that she plays in their lives and the roles that they play in hers. Very much like a self-discovery, female empowerment, very, very, very beautifully written story. Highly recommend. Keeping with mythic traditions, we have The Witch's Heart. This is just a beautiful cover because just the way that things are woven into the design of her hair. But anyway, this is basically a Norse mythology of Angrboda, who is one of the early witches of Norse mythology. This book talks about basically how she's regarded as a witch. Her heart is stolen, and Loki is the one to return her heart to her. Her and Loki kind of have a romantic relationship. And it's just how the Norse gods are in control. Odin is obviously on his never-ending quest for knowledge, and how Angrboda fits into this. There is also a prophecy that involves Angrboda and her children, which will happen around the time of Ragnarok, which is like the great epic battle where everything's, gods descend onto earth and the Valkyries fight, and it's just massive chaos. It's kind of like the Norse end of the world scenario. Very beautifully done. I will say towards the end, I teared up a bit. it had some, if you're a mom, this is going to tug on your heartstrings big time as regards to like what a mother's going to do for her children, and just like the sacrifices that they make. But it's a very, very beautifully done story as well. So this, right along with Cersei, I'm like, very good mythological reads. And of course, no witchy reads list would be complete without a little bit of Hocus Pocus. This is Hocus Pocus and the all new sequel. I read this one. I would say I loved the retelling of Hocus Pocus. I wish they would have sold it separately because I was not a fan of the sequel, but I did like the Hocus Pocus, just being able to read the movie in a book format. It is a fun cover, so I did have a lot of fun reading that one, but like I said, I just was not the biggest fan of the sequel, but it still deserves a spot on the list because these are like 3 of the most favorite witches of all time, right? So yes. Now, those are basically the ones that I have been reading in the past like few years. There are a few honorable mentions because I have yet to read these books, but I'm sure you have heard about them and I just wanted to include them. First up, of course, is Her Majesty's Royal Coven. I know the sequel is out. I have not even read this one, but this one is basically about a bunch of women who are witches, that they kind of work as the Queen's secret service almost in a way, and just kind of about the relationships there and what happens when maybe one of them goes a bit too far in the wrong direction. I've heard very good reviews of this one. I have yet to pick it up though. Hopefully I can get to it soon. Next up, I'm going to try to hold my hand over the little price stickers because they just look so bad. I haven't had a chance to get them off. But that is the Raven series or duology by Morgan Page. You have the Ravens and then you have the Monarchs. My understanding of this, I've heard a lot of good reviews on this one, but this is basically about a sorority of witches. And other than that, I don't know much more than that, but I've heard really great things. So I'm curious to somehow get these on the list sooner rather than later. I did pick these up at a discount store, so I got the full duology for insanely cheap. So that just makes it even better. And who doesn't love a witchy sorority, right? And my final nomination for the night, or honorable mention, I should say, is the All Souls Trilogy, and that is The Discovery of Witches, The Shadow of Night, and The Book of Life by Deborah Harkness. This series is made famous, of course, by the Discovery of Witches television show. I watched the first season, loved it, decided I needed to go and get the books. I have yet to read them. They have made an appearance on a few TBRs. I just have not made my way to them, so I'm going to be trying to set up some time to do so very soon. And other than that, those are my witchy reads. I know there are so many more witchy reads out there. If you have a witchy read recommendation or one that did not appear on this list, go ahead and leave it in the comments below because I would love to add to my witchy book collection. And I hope you guys are doing well this spooky month, and stay tuned for other spooky recommendations. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.